Hello, everybody. My name's Phil Patty from American Barbell, and I am sitting here today with Dion and Jai Shaun.
Yes.
And I know these guys from IVI. They're a sports performance training center in the southern part of Las Vegas. So thanks, guys, for coming in.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and give us a little bit of a background, and maybe we'll start with you. I'm curious about your background, and you mentioned a little bit about kinesiology and some things. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, originally went to school to go for communications, right? Originally from Summer Oaks, California. Mom was in broadcast and journalism. The only person I looked up to was my cousin, right? So he went to SC, played baseball, played football, and I was like, that's the road I want to go down. The rest of my family's musically inclined. I'm not. So I followed that route. Dad was super big on education. It was like, in order to do anything communication-wise, you should get your education, right? Stepmom was like, well, to be a radio DJ, you really don't need one. You just need a personality. I was like, I got that covered. But again, Pops was the one paying all the bills, so I had to listen to what he had to say, went to school. And then through my strength coach, ended up falling in love with kinesiology. I was interested how you could change the body, how it grows, what makes it grow, how you could tweak things, how I can get faster. Because going in, I wasn't always like the fastest. I was, let's say, top 10. But then I was like, how do I get faster? And then it became nutrition and diet and all this stuff. So that really expanded my mind and not forced me, but it was something I just gravitated to instead of writing, newspaper articles or follow-ups on things that I really wasn't interested in. And that kind of got me into that path. Then once I got done playing ball, I didn't really end up using my degree. I fell into something else, which helped me out a lot. But then it's funny how it kind of just came full circle. Now this is kind of the road that I've taken.
Was that football, baseball? What was
football?
Football.
I did football, track. Those were my things. But my dad, like I said, big on education is like, you're one practice away from not playing. So you can't really rely on that. You don't even have to be in the game to get hurt. And he's right. Luckily, knock on wood, I had no crazy injuries when I was playing, but none now. But it wasn't in my cards to go all the way, so this is what it ended up, and I can't complain,
All right. And how about you?
What got me to this point, born and raised Moss Point, Mississippi. Kind of got exposed through playing sports like Jay mentioned earlier. Played wide receiver at Moss Point High School, and going into senior year during Katrina, that 2005 year, I tore my ACL in spring practice. So that was my first introduction to kind of what we talked about now is back to play. Really had no awareness outside of just basic weight room stuff in high school. And from there, transitioned into junior college is where I got more exposure on the educational side of it. But went into JUCO as a pre-physical therapy student. And that's what I thought I wanted to be after experiencing the high school injury. Transitioned later that spring into University of Southern Mississippi. And that's when I really got exposed to exercise science. And from there, being a collegiate football player and kind of marrying the two in the classroom, I was like, man, this is something that can keep me around the sport, whether it's, on the PT side, AT, or even the strength and conditioning. And that was a big attraction for me. And, you fast forward and here I am today.
Interesting. Why is it that PTs get such a bad rap? What's your guys' thought on that?
I don't know. I feel like the PTs that I've been exposed to, especially during those vulnerable moments when you're injured, really not just physically but mentally kept me together and motivated me to get back on the field, and then also showing like the genuine care of these are people that I still talk to today.
Right.
Later in life, even my mom will reach out and say, "Hey, I ran into Greg, your former PT. He asked about you." So the PTs that I've had, the exposure to has been a part of me, a part of my family moving forward.
Yeah, I have no idea why they get a bad rep because they get us back on the field. Right. They know us even when we're trying to like mentally tough it out. They're the ones that's like, I wouldn't recommend it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love my PT.
Well, I think it's just like anything else. I think you get the ones that are skating by, and I had a physical therapy experience where I was in a room with 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
I got nothing, nothing out of it whatsoever.
Got it.
But yeah, we have one that's actually downstairs that rents an office from us. His name's Zach Couples,
Okay.
and he's really good, and he's got a following nationwide. I had no idea who he even was, but he understands the science of the body.
Yeah. I mean,
Really?
the best ones can simplify it for you. You know, I get everyone wants to project and show what they know, but the ones that can actually keep it simple for you are usually, I think, from athlete experience and from my personal experiences, the ones that get the bigger results.
But I also think it's like, it's the non-sexy part, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the trainer, like this is the guy that got me jacked. This is the guy that got me this. But it's also like, but this is the guy that keeps me on the field. This is the guy that can tweak me and make me go a little faster, you know, get me back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think it's because it's like also like the non-sexy part of it.
No, agreed. That's spot on.
Yeah, and again, it's like with anything else. It's, you know, there's people that are good and there's people that are great.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, interviewing a doctor or an engineer or anybody else. But so interesting. So then did you pursue kinesiology all the way through?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Dad said, once you start something, you got to finish, right? So that's what I did. But it kind of pissed him off because, like I said, I didn't use it right away.
Right.
You know?
Well, you went out and got practical experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's funny. It's like with what I do. I build gym equipment, and I tell people all the time I have a degree in nothing. I learned everything I know, all the metallurgy studies, everything, the science of metal, everything I do, I learned by myself.
Really?
Yep.
You think that's because you really enjoyed it?
Yeah. I mean, it's the $1 million question. How did I get started?
Yeah.
I was a welder and I like to work out. So I started making my own benches.
Really?
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
And then when it came to the science of the Olympic bar, I had no concept. I use the Olympic bar as a great example because it's something designed and built wrong can really hurt somebody. We've all seen the photos of ends snapping off, or the catastrophic one is when it snaps in the middle, right? And when it snaps in the middle, that's a catastrophic failure. It's purely from the lack of correct processing of the type of material. The heat treating is the process that you put an Olympic bar through to raise the tensile and the yield strength to make them strong and ductile. Those are sciences. And I learned from top level metallurgists, which are metal doctors, but I didn't tell them what to do. I asked them, what should I do? And I'd get these guys that were full blown pros baking the cake, if you will, right? That way I didn't, you know, put my neck on the line and hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So it's the same story. It's that practical experience. And you learn a lot from that.
No, agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do you guys know each other?
Shit. Well, we met through a mutual friend with like 4 or 5 years?
5 years ago.
About 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yep. And then our other partner, we were on the brink of opening all our properties and stuff. And I told D, I was like, yo, we're going to do a gym. And the moment we do, you got to come on. Like, I also had mutual friends that he had worked with before. And he had a home out here, but he wasn't really too satisfied with it. But also it was like, here's another opportunity, because I wouldn't be able to be there full time like I would want to. But also I have nowhere near the experience or knowledge that he has and the credibility that he
From
has.
a training standpoint.
Just a person standpoint, training standpoint, all around. Like, people travel to come work out with him. You know what I mean? Like,
You didn't know you were that amazing.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
It's a rat poison right here.
No, but so when the opportunity arose, I was like, look, come. And with another partner that we had, it was like, you guys make it happen and run with it. And then here we are now.
So you have a day job. Do you have a day job, or is training athletes your full-time job?
Yes, that's my full time.
That's your full-time.
I don't even know how to put it into hours or scheduling. It's just what's needed, you get it done.
Right. And yeah, you've got the full-time job and you fit in the rest, right?
Yeah.
I think the full time job fits in around his workout.
Yeah, for real.
That's
Yeah,
priority.
that's priority.
So that's 1A, 1B for sure.
So IVI, how did you guys run in? That was an existing facility. And how did you guys connect with that to take it over?
So the facility we built from scratch.
You guys did.
Yes.
So you
From
were
the
in the
dirt,
beginning.
we were from
okay,
the
but you were
dirt.
behind the scenes because I had never
So
seen you guys.
So one of the other previous partners that you met, he through relationships was a little more hands on right off the rip, right? But
That's
like
Jeremy.
Jeremy, correct.
Jeremy.
But it takes like a village, right? So he had one component, we had a different component, and we meshed them together. So that's how that came about.
Huh. Okay, and then it transitioned to where he left, and then you guys took over, and
Yeah, well, we were always there, but it was just he had a different option per se.
right,
You know, a better career path to go down.
huh.
Yeah,
A different one.
different one. Different
better.
one. No, different, yeah.
So what do you guys do? What's the model? Explain to the people out there. What's the basic model of what you guys do? It's sports performance, correct?
Yes. So I would say our model right now is evolving. At the end of the day, we want to deliver a premium product, kind of like American Barbell. We will appreciate high quality products and things. And that's the target of understanding an athlete or individual that values privacy, elevated experience, and then also a premium product. So that's the current model, but with the city and Vegas and everything evolving for sports and performance, we definitely want to be in line with that as well as the city continues to grow.
Yeah, so like you said, as everything grows, like you see your soccer moms, right? Now they want to do high rocks, or they want to do CrossFit, or but they also want to train like the pros, but also they can train next to them, at least with us, right? You get that experience, but you also don't get the creepy guys bothering you in the gym.
Yeah.
So they get like a Soho House and the Equinox, right? With a sports performance component, membership only based, private 24-hour access for the most part. And then you don't have to worry about anything. If you want to come in there by yourself, chances are you might be in there with 2 other people. But if you want to do small group classes, we offer that too, you know.
It is 24-hour.
Well, we have fob access, yeah.
So,
we
but I
cut
mean,
it off for
somebody
like
can
3
go
hours,
in.
yeah.
Yeah. If you made it a priority to want to come in at a certain time, we wouldn't restrict you.
Wow.
Because, you know, being in Vegas, everybody's hours is everywhere.
All over the
you know.
board.
First shifts, second shift. We have first responders in the building. So everyone's schedule was pretty different. So just want to make it available if needed.
So interesting then. So it isn't classes per se, or it's not training that's led, or is it?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
So it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody's coming in at 3 a.m, you're not there.
No.
I mean, we can still program for them. You know, you can actually do some intro sessions earlier on and things like that, just depending on the schedule. But we want to be as complimentary as possible. If you need an instructor, if you need a class setting, or if you're kind of a former athlete and kind of know what to do already, we just want to provide you that privacy and experience.
Because even the aesthetic of our gym, right? I mean, we're completely outfitted in American Barbell, right? And thank you for that. But also,
Thanks for buying it.
some of the equipment you wouldn't find in EOS or 24-hour fitness, right? You have to know what you're doing.
Right.
So you would come if you wanted, and we could show you how to use it. And then once you're on your own, then you can go. But that's kind of what we wanted to create, that type of environment.
Yeah, well, it's that one-on-one. And as you guys both alluded to, it's results. Results are big. You know, I've told people for years, and I've never been a gym owner, but I've been neurotic for quality about everything I've ever done. And it's all about results, giving people results, showing them great quality product across the board. And it's one of those deals where if you're just a me too, who cares?
Right.
I've been asked 100 times by club owners, you know, what's going to make me different? Results, quality equipment, cleanliness, the experience.
Yep.
For sure. I was just about to say overall gym culture.
The overall experience across the board to give. And especially when we talk about results, I wanted to get your guys' take on, do you have any younger clientele?
Yeah, like the youth athletes.
The youth athletes,
Yes.
like how young?
We have middle school. My son, he's just entered the 6th grade, so as young as that.
A very good friend of mine who's a level 5 Olympic coach in Houston. His name is Tim Swords. He's a good old boy. He's got to be, mid to late 60s. He's a level 5, which is the top level in the U.S. for an Olympic coach for accreditation. And he's always told me that the future is training of the youth.
For sure.
Catching those young
So
athletes.
you can roll with them the whole way.
Catch them before they get the bad habits.
Yep.
Right?
No, agreed.
100%.
The wrong training. So that's interesting. So that, again, it's back to what I'm thinking, the future is about education. So when I talk about what I do and how I set myself apart, I've always been neurotic for quality, safety. When anybody asks me, how do you design equipment? I look at it in a couple different ways. How can it break? and how can somebody get hurt
Mm-hmm.
if it does break,
Mhm.
and what would the severity of that injury be if it did all those things happened? Because things happen,
Yeah.
Agreed.
right?
Mhm.
But trying to put some gauges around that, right?
Yeah.
There's
So
certain
you kind of like
machines-
work backwards in a sense, right? Because
Well,
most people will build something and be like, oh, this looks good, it feels good. And then like, oh shit, we didn't make it strong enough.
Yeah.
You know, like kind of go that route.
That's the old you can't
Yeah.
accelerate time.
Yeah.
So anybody that I ask about, if you're a Shark Tank watcher, and I always think about Mr. Wonderful and his comment of what's to squash. So for me, if I was on there and he'd say, well, what do you have? Because they love patents.
Mhm.
I've got 4 or 5 patents on some things, but patents are okay. Although you get infringed like crazy from people that don't have money and you spend a fortune to try to protect them.
Mhm.
So I just kind of rely on a customer base of people know that I actually invented the urethane bumper or the Cerakote barbell or whatever it may be. And you ride with that reputation and the experience. But he'll make a comment about, to somebody like myself, he might say, well, what's to keep somebody with more money squashing you like the cockroach you are, right?
Mhm.
So in other words, well, look, I'm a mid-size, decently sized company, and what's to stop a Nike or somebody like that from coming in with, hundreds of millions of dollars and just putting me right out of business?
Mhm.
Well, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the last thing that's going to happen to me because you can't accelerate time.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter how much money you've got to throw at it. When I invented the first, developed and invented the very first urethane bumper plate, the first one I developed for a company called Sorinex back in 2012 broke in 30 minutes of dropping. 30 minutes. So 4
Loaded?
years. Huh?
Loaded? Yeah. You said
No,
you
it
loaded.
was only 2 plates, 2 35-pounders, and a bar.
Yeah.
Understand.
And when I saw that happen after 30 minutes, I went, oh my God, how's this even possible? Because I came out of the gym world where we made Olympic plates, and you're not dropping Olympic plates per se.
Mhm.
Not supposed to anyway. And I'm trying to think about how you're going to make a plate that people can drop in a parking lot. They're never going to tell you if it's on concrete, where, whatever. And I went after the urethane bumper because urethane material is so much harder than rubber. So when people ask me as a comparison, I say, think of a skateboard wheel. If you saw a kid fly through the air on a skateboard, 10 feet in the air and hit the ground, a rubber wheel had come off on the first jump.
Mhm.
Urethane will take pounding for months and months and years and years. And I had already had experience of, producing at that time probably 100 million pounds of dumbbells and Olympic plates out of urethane. So I had a big head start. Nobody had ever attempted it. And between 2012, the first one wasn't ready till 2016. And we went at it and kept changing the composition of the urethane, the way we put the inner core in, the way we bonded the center hub, all these different things.
Mhm.
And I show people the photo of the one that broke in 30 minutes and the one that went 122,000 drops
Damn.
without failure 4 years later. And I said, so you tell me now that everybody, the minute I launched it in 16, everybody copied it, but they copied the outside. So that's my comment of how do you accelerate time? You're not accelerating
Yeah.
that 4 years. So what we were doing was we were testing everything, and then we'd make a new formula, a new method, a new style, and then we'd put it out on the dropping machine, and we'd run 4,000 drops a day from 8 foot 2 inches tall.
Mhm.
And we'd hit it 4,000 times a day, cycles. This is where we need to drop into some of these videos where you can see this thing pulling it up on a chain and banging it on.
I think I seen one
Concrete.
of your recent ones. You dropped from a forklift or something.
That was a bar.
Yeah, yeah.
You saw that bar
Yeah,
dropping
I
from
did.
13 feet with 475 pounds on it. Yeah.
Damn.
Had a lot of people asking me, how did that thing not snap?
Mhm.
Never want a bar to snap.
Yeah.
Bar
Right.
can bend, but you don't ever want that thing snapping. So anyway, moral of the story is that's why I tell people you can't accelerate time.
For sure.
That's why hands-on experience is everything.
Agreed.
47 years into it and all the stuff that I've made is I've watched it and I stare at that stuff, and I
Yeah.
look at just any way possible it can fail.
Yeah, that's what makes it different.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Huge, huge. So what do you guys have planned as far as what's the next level? Is it just to solidify what you're doing now with the base that you have? Because you were telling me today earlier that you guys are limited to about 100 people.
Yeah, we want to cap it.
Very small.
Because we wanted, because our space isn't super big, but when it gets to that amount of people, we still want you to be able to move around and
Right.
have room. And, you know, if we have classes, nobody really interferes. That's why we're heavy on the gym culture, right? We wanted everybody to be have a cohesive environment, whether he's instructing or I'm in there working out. We still have freedom to move around, you know, because some gyms, even mega gyms, like, you know, the big ones we have out here, you get too clustered, can't get a machine and stuff like that. So,
Well, and you sure can't get any guidance.
yeah,
Well,
for sure.
everybody wants space, you know, but at the end of the day, it's about the efficiency of it as well. Because you see some of the larger gyms it's just space compared to gym culture, the training aspect of it, and then also the waiting on equipment, the shared equipment, and things like that. So right now it was a proof of concept. You know, of course, every business wants to scale and grow. But right now, we just want to perfect this one from A to Z before we even entertain anything like that moving forward.
And we take a lot of feedback from our members, right? We want this to feel as much a part of them as it is ours, right?
Right.
So we really listen, tweak things, and try to, you know, accommodate everybody to the best of our ability.
Right.
It's the same thing with your patent. It's like, try it. Okay, evolve.
Test the model.
The market kind of leads you.
Well, it becomes unbeatable.
Yeah.
You know, look, I humbly tell people the reason why I'm not worried about competition in my own little world, I'm not worried about competition. Like if I can get in front, I do by far the best in front of people like yourselves that actually know what you're looking at. It's a crapshoot when you deal with, you know, conventional gym buyers, especially the big box guys that have, you know, 100 locations. You get buyers that are extremely uneducated and they follow. They don't do their research. They haven't done the biomechanical. You know, if you do the biomechanical studies and you evaluate, personally, I don't think I'd ever say, oh, one line's going to end it all. Right? You're going to find, and actually flipping backwards to when I built selectorized weight stack equipment starting in the late 70s, that was a company that I explained to Jai Shaun. I sold to Life Fitness in 1995, became Life Fitness Pro 1. When I was designing that line, I went out and at the time, I don't know how far back you guys know the old names, Body Masters and Icarian and Cybex and Cybex for sure, because they were around until just a couple of years ago. But there were, you know, the guys from the past, and I took ideas from all of them and then I made my versions. Like I'd have hybrids make, you know, I remember making a multi-hip. There was a company called Polaris out of San Diego. And I love the way the back section of that multi-hip ratcheted up and down for an adjustment, but I like the front of what Cybex did. So I did my own thing, my own version. I mean, everybody does that, right? All the auto guys, you name it. But that's how I developed a line that wasn't necessarily super revolutionary. It just addressed a lot of problems. Stainless steel at high wear areas instead of chrome. You know, foot plates that were anti-slip powder coat instead of that old sandpaper stuff that used to curl. Have you ever tried to get that off? So things like that, right? But it was just about solving problems. So everything I've ever been about is solving problems. And in your guys' world, what's cool is that word sports performance training, sports specific, you know, whatever we want to call that, was never, to my knowledge and what I've been told, was never available in the past. Let's go back 20 years ago, unless somebody had a lot of money to pay a high-level trainer.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So today it's really cool that you can do it in a setting where it's not $200 an hour, right? But they're getting that caliber of training, right?
I agree.
And that's the difference. And that's why we were talking about it earlier, that the big boxes that are trying to spin off and have a wing of their health club to try to do what you guys do, there's no way.
It's funny, I was just at a gym in Toronto, and it's huge, like almost like a warehouse. And the bottom part, the very first time I went there when it opened, it was like a really nice lounge. I was like, yo, this place is pretty sick. And then when I just went back this last time, they converted the whole bottom to a high rocks area. So it's like, the crazy thing is nobody was down there, but everybody was upstairs working out. But you have that option. But when I walked in there, it was just like, oh, this just feels like a showcase. Like I didn't see anybody using it versus like going to somewhere like our gym, and people are actually getting down with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, look at how it's evolved too. You know, when I started building weights bars and dumbbells in '98, I spun off from building machines. I was building weight stack machines and benches, sold that business, and then I was looking for something to do. So in 1998, I started because I like to solve problems. So I thought first thing I went after was the loose dumbbell. Why did dumbbells come loose? So I attacked things one at a time. And but I never thought at that point that weights, bars, and dumbbells, band training, pull-ups, functional training would become so popular.
Yeah.
And right now it's the stuff, right?
For sure.
I mean, who would have ever known? And
For
plate
sure.
load, like right now, plate loaded equipment's on fire.
Yeah.
It is just popular as can be.
Where do you see it going now with sports science evolving? Sports is dominating for the most part. Where do you see that going from a build out standpoint? Is it anything that you think?
Yeah,
change,
I mean,
or?
it's totally different. I mean, so back to things that I see that are popular. So the half rack platform right now is so popular. And when I was tasked, this was a weird back end way that this evolved. But we had a sales guy that had a relationship with 24-Hour Fitness, and they sold 194 half rack platforms. And I had a guy working for me that was kind of an engineering guy and the sales guy and, blah, blah, one of these things. And we took this order for 194 and delivered the first 100. And all of a sudden, this guy was gone, and I had to clean up the fire of, oh my God, the wrong rubber. And oh my God, the stand zone's out of wood. And the first time the guy dropped a bar on the wood, it split it and it went crazy. And so fast forward, $100,000 in replacements, and I had to haul butt to get these things replaced to save the business, the reputation, everything. So I jumped in, and being a problem solver, I investigated the rubber, the right mixes, and what do we do with the stand zone? And luckily, it turned out to be what I consider the most revolutionary half rack platform developed, because the stand zone being wood always split and did its thing, cracked, did whatever, was a mess, warped. And so I used a marine board, which was like a boat deck material. So I solved that. I did all this on the fly. And then I didn't realize how dangerous these platforms were, especially with lightweight, when you threw down 130 pounds from 8 feet in the air and watched that thing catapult out into the middle of the floor. So I'm thinking, oh man. So I ended up perfecting all that. And it was a scurry to, again, save it. And it turned out to be where they loved it so much that 24-Hour now is probably just under 300 to 350 under the belt.
Yeah.
They loved it so much. But to answer your question, who would have thought?
Right.
So I see these things installed in a 24-hour. I walk into the one in San Diego. I can't remember, Balboa Club. They have 95 to 100,000 check-ins a month.
Damn.
And I would walk in there and I would see a line. I thought I was looking at the post office. And there was a line 5 people deep, and I'm going, what the hell's going on? And they were queued up waiting for their turn on the platform. So now, Rochester Athletic Club, Mom and Pop Athletic Club, Rochester, Minnesota, 10 platforms. Crunch, we put in 8 for them in one club in the Bay Area. So who would have ever thought, right? That they're going that way. So what I'm seeing is, Planet Fitness. I've had that contract for 22 years. They just, for the first time ever, put an Olympic bar in the club.
No, really?
Never had an Olympic bar. Now it's bumpers, bars, and platforms.
Wow.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
I thought they had the sound, like the dropping and all of that.
Oh, that all flies out the window. When you got to keep up with the Joneses, that flies out the window, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's exactly what's going on. So now, back to the educational side. So the guy that's head of equipment purchasing was nice enough at the URSA show time back in March to bring in a group, and he didn't tell me who they were. And they were people on the board of directors of Planet, and they wanted me to explain what I did different. And I walked them through the Olympic bar and the safety, and you don't just buy a bar, especially when you've got that kind of volume running through. And then I showed them how if you buy the wrong platform and that thing bounces and you can't have 10 feet of space in the middle of a platform. Real estate's valuable.
Right.
So I showed them one with and without, and one's flying 8 feet and one's dead drop. So it's back to that education. And so again, that's where I look at my biggest opportunity is showing people, what we try to do that's different, because safety is so huge and credibility. That's why I love to tell people, like if I didn't know you guys, I'd say interview your vendor.
Yeah.
There's long-standing names that have not kept up with the times.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Oh man, you've got to interview your vendor. You got to find out what have you done to keep up with the times. Where are you, and what materials? How do you do your testing? And it will shock you when you find out that 95% of the vendors today have no experience at all. So, in a roundabout way, it's going back to the basics.
Yeah.
I mean, again, who would have thought that you're putting platforms and rigs, and we're doing a Gold's Gym right now. 8 custom. I've never done this before, but I did a custom job. It's Bay Area, and it's a half rack platform power rack combo, totally custom for these guys. But that's what they wanted. They wanted the dropping, but they wanted the center cage.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's what we do. We do a lot of custom designs.
So to gauge that, since we had our build out with you guys, how much has it changed within these last 2.5, 3 years, for as the products that are out there now when we first got in with you?
Interestingly enough, what you guys have is similar to what people want today. So you guys were ahead of the curve before. Because remember, our industry is full of sheep that follow everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sadly, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But see, you guys were much more sports specific.
Mhm.
So you wanted the results. You wanted the power cage. You wanted the J hooks and the squatting and the extra things that that people can do.
Mhm.
You guys were very specialized in what you wanted. So to tell you the truth, the only thing that's changed now is a few additions. Like, you guys don't have half rack platforms, right?
No.
You don't have anything for dropping, whether you'd want it or not. I don't know.
Mhm.
That's really geared. So back to, why are people buying these?
Yeah, right now we're using blocks.
Yeah.
We're using the decent
Jerk
blocks.
blocks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so if you think about it, why would a generic club, and I don't want to sell myself out of business,
Yeah.
but think about this, why would a generic club need a half rack platform when really the most beneficial user of a half rack platform is an IWF Pro Olympic lifter? The guy or the girl that's throwing stuff up high.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if you're deadlifting and doing stuff like that, or what are those rack pulls,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You're doing rack pulls or something like that, and you want to drop it on the floor. Great, our platform's nice because it's noise reducing. It still has the low bounce, but it becomes vital in an uncontrolled gym like a Planet or somewhere,
Yeah.
or an EOS, where I try to tell those
Weekend
guys,
warriors are
you
doing
can't
it.
you can't control what goes on.
Yeah.
Right, that's why I warn people when they talk about, I can buy from that company, because even though they say they're light commercial and they're a home gym equipment builder, I said, you don't think there's guys in their garage? I got one right now. A guy in their garage bought one of our Il Padrino deadlift bars. He's pulling 902 on a deadlift in his garage.
It's a different life.
Well, how are you patrolling that?
Yeah.
You're not, right? Which is why with equipment you don't skimp. It's like buying a tool.
Yeah.
I use Milwaukee as the any pro that you see is using a Milwaukee tool or a Sawzall or something like that. So no, it's you guys are definitely on the right track. I think everybody, not to give you the kudos and the high fives that
We'll
you
take
guys,
it.
you'll take it,
For sure.
but
I'll
you
have
guys
kudos.
are what other people want to be.
Understood.
And again, back to the opportunity for me and people like us as a whole is to get the clubs to understand that if you're going to test this, you better test it the right way.
Yeah.
You don't just put it out in the mainstream and see what happens,
Agreed.
right?
Agreed.
100%.
That's not how you do it. So, but everything's working good. You guys have had the product. Gosh, now it's been in there what?
A little over 2.5.
Yeah, over 2.5 now.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
Budget,
when we
budget,
put the first install in there,
Yeah, it's about 2.5.
that's it?
Yeah.
22. Yeah,
Hmm.
right at the end of 22.
Wow, I thought it was longer than that. Because I remember Stephen Kendrick, the guy that had the relationship with Jeremy. Yeah, I thought it, yeah. Well, you guys would know.
Yeah.
But I thought, was it pre-COVID or no?
No,
No.
no, exactly.
It was after.
Yeah.
Huh.
He did some other stuff with Jeremy, I think, at the crib.
Yeah, at the house or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so good. So no plans to expand yet.
I mean, we're always open to
A
new
remote?
business, for sure.
Well, we talked about some
yeah.
collaboration.
Right, you be careful,
My wheels are always turning.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always have to be careful what you ask for. When you,
Yeah.
because we're not chasing volume, but we're also understanding that we have to build a solid foundation and understanding the
Right.
systems and protocols and liability, what we
Mhm.
talked about, for as manning a facility, and then also what type of gym culture and target
Yeah.
market that you're going at.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's awesome. It's like I said, part of my plan going forward is to be able to align people like yourselves with people, you know how hard it is to find trainers at that level, right? And to find people. And that's why this model that we've talked about, our plan of some franchise model in the future of American Barbell Training Centers, where we want to build the most elite equipment designed by folks like yourselves, where you say, this is what we want to get the performance out of the athletes that we train. And to be able to have something that people get great results and you can make good money at it.
No, agree.
Right?
Agree.
And obviously, we didn't touch on this, I guess, in close. You guys train some very serious high-level athletes.
Yeah.
Local. I mean, give us a quick rundown of the types. You don't have to name names.
Yeah, I'm not gonna name
No,
names.
don't name names, but just tell us who you're training.
Your main sports. We have our day-to-day. We have former athletes that want to train, like they're still playing. We have the youth that the grassroots level is probably the biggest one that we want to grow more. Just understanding what that could do for the city.
Some Pro
NBA,
Bowlers, Super Bowlers,
some decent guys.
Yeah.
That's
You've got pro baseball players, pro football players.
We're open to expanding, man, and that's the biggest thing is just showing what we can do because we're still being discovered.
Are these transient people though, or do they live here?
Some of
come
them
and go.
Some live here in the off season.
Yeah.
Or depending on where their team takes them.
Yeah.
But for some of them, Vegas is home base when the season's done. Because of cost of living and convenience of everything.
No, for sure. It's
But,
a lot of benefits.
Yeah. But also that's another thing that we have. Like, we have these type of people in the building, but nobody knows. Because we, like you said, we keep it private. We keep it chill. You could come in there and you'll be working out next to a Super Bowler and won't even know unless you talk to him, But that's kind of the thing that we like,
That's
the
cool,
gym
that
culture,
exclusiveness where you don't have people gawking over them and all that.
Right.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny when I've always wondered. I'll close off with saying that one of my funniest stories in the past. I've been lucky enough to probably not remotely meet who you guys have met, those type of people, but I'll never forget since you spend a lot of time at the Wynn, and I'll never forget sitting at the Wynn when they first opened. I was there the first week, and I'm having dinner in the Italian restaurant.
Natra?
I don't know, the one downstairs. Was it
SW?
Italian at the time?
It might have been, but SW's down there now. But probably.
Anyway, this was 03, whenever it opened or whatever.
SW. Yeah.
And I'm sitting with Lou Ferrigno, who I've known forever, right? He thinks we're related because both of our mothers are Giordano's. And I always made a joke of maybe we should film a movie like twins, right? He's still big. He's pushing 70 and he still looks great. Anyway, I'm sitting with, this is how far out of the limelight when you guys were talking about tonight. I didn't know which boxing event was going on like an idiot. So I'm sitting with Lou Ferrigno. And this big, tall dude walks up. He goes, Mr. Ferrigno. He goes, I'm so honored to meet you. Shakes his hand, and I'm going, that's cool. He walks away. I go, who is that? And he goes, that's LeBron James.
Oh, wow.
That's when he was just signed the contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, wasn't that about when he first signed it?
Yeah.
That was wild.
Wow.
Well, cool. Well, listen, thank you guys so much for coming in.
Man.
I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Some great insight. Looking forward to a future collaboration.
Most definitely.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe to American Barbell Unleashed, and we'll see you next week.